this, of course, has been the big question ahead of this summit. You've seen Zelenskyy go from meeting to meeting with European leaders. Clearly, they all trying to show solidarity with him as everyone waits somewhat nervously to see what comes out of what's going to happen between President Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. What did you make of the fact that Trump today was willing to talk about in more depth, likely including Zelenskyy later on?
Well, look, if the second meeting comes to pass that President Trump was talking about in the Oval Office today, that will be a sign that the first meeting actually went well. If there is a meeting with President Zelenskyy and Putin and Trump and European leaders, that will be a sign that peace potentially is in the offing. But a lot has to happen between now and then. And I think that all eyes obviously are on this meeting tomorrow. But what I am thinking back to is being in Helsinki in the summer of 2018 and that side-by-side press conference. It just simply was not a moment of strength for President Trump. But important to keep in mind, it's not the same President Trump. At that point, he was just a couple years on the job. And as we've seen in instance after instance, he knows the job much more now. For some people would say for better or worse, but he knows the levers of power. So is it a different Trump that goes into the meeting tomorrow, or when he's face to face with Putin, does it kind of revert to the old power structure here? So I think that's one thing just optically, but actually the substance of it, it's hard to imagine that they could reach some type of a deal where all leaders would be sitting down in short order.
Yeah.
If they are sitting down, Jeff, isn't it possible that he and Putin have agreed on something and they're going to try and pressure Zelenskyy to accept?
Yeah, like giving up a decent part of the eastern chunk of
but there is reason to believe that, you know, Putin could be of a mind to make some sort of deal because his economy is in tatters. So he has some impetus, and especially if the president's willing to carry through, which he hasn't been on his threat to really crank up sanctions, then you know, Putin does have an impetus.
Would he agree to sit down with Zelenskyy, though? That's a question.
That's a big question.
So let's watch a little bit of what happened back in 2018, the time that Jeff was just talking about. And of course, you saw the two of them walking there, the moment that was, you know, heard around the world at the time. Let's watch.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
Extremely strong and powerful. And Scott Jennings, we know that this is not the only place where Donald Trump has demonstrated that he believes that showing strength and power is something, honestly, that he is influenced by. What makes you think it might be different this time?
Well, I accidentally glanced at the front page of the New York Times this morning, saw the headline, Europe's leaders say Trump backs goals on Ukraine. And I also happen to remember a few weeks ago when he worked with NATO to help get hundreds of millions of dollars of lethal weapons into the hands of the Ukrainians. And so it doesn't hardly sound pro-Russia or pro-Putin to me. I think the president is put out with Putin. I think we ought to pray for peace, hope for the best, and plan for Putin to be a jerk and a thug, which is exactly what he is. But the man has solved 6 or 7 conflicts this year. I think we ought to give him some latitude to operate.
Which 6 or 7?
I'm sorry, are you not watching the
Which
news?
6 or 7?
Well, we just did Azerbaijan, we did Rwanda, we did Israel, Iran.
Israel, Iran, what? What peace deal did I miss?
Ended the 12-day war.
I mean, so you 6 or 7. I mean,
Are you
that's
living on Earth too?
I mean, no, but Azerbaijan, Rwanda, what? What are we talking about?
Kasie.
The fact is, we still have a country a world that's on fire. And this is the problem with
Kasie.
What are you asking me for, Scott?
I'm asking you to come in here and tell people the truth. Donald Trump has created a track record this year of helping settle several conflicts.
So several is different than 6 or 7. So I was letting Bakari.
First of all, I will say this.
We did see, Scott, to your point, after naming something after Donald Trump, we saw Azerbaijan, Armenia sit down. That was a remarkable moment. We also, I would say, the Iran situation was solved with force. But
and it's still not solved. There's still no peace deal. And actually, the hostages are still not brought home in Israel, and there's still uncertainty in Gaza and Israel. And And we still have this blazing in Ukraine and Russia. So I want to back away from Donald Trump getting a Nobel Peace Prize. But this is my biggest
Donald
issue.
Trump would not like to back away from that.
But this is I think this is one of the larger issues you have with Donald Trump when compared to his predecessors, Joe Biden, particularly Barack Obama, and even his competitor in Hillary Clinton. He does not have the intellect to actually display strength on a stage of this magnitude. And so when he's standing next to a world leader like Vladimir Putin, he looks small. And so when you have an individual, and particularly as he's getting older, and he begins to muddle through his words, and I think the quote that he just said recently, there's going to be some land swapping, and it's going to be for the good of Ukraine, and then there's going to be some good and some bad, and he's not sharp or crisp with his words, you're going to see someone who looks small simply because they don't have the intellect to stand on a stage next to someone who is, yes, a thug like Vladimir Putin, and that is going to be the problem. His weakness is going to be on full display.
We're over time, and I'm going to give you the quick last word.
Well, I think you're prejudging a meeting before it's happened, number one. Number two, you're not telling the truth about his track record this year. And number three, why can't you just give the President of the United States the chance to operate here? He's earnestly trying to get to a peace deal. Shouldn't we be all hopeful for American success instead of rooting for American failure?
Yeah, no, we should. We should
and
want
that-
peace in Ukraine. That is fair and just to the Ukrainians,
Totally
who are the
agree.
country
Correct.
that was
Okay.
created.
Well, then I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Okay, that is a great place to press pause on this conversation.